What is going on, everybody? Wild card weekend, one of the best football weekends of all weekends, is finally on the horizon. We are made it through the 18-week season. And Jake, you're back with us for Wildcard weekend. How are you? How's your Christmas? Happy New Year.
Good, dude. Yeah, new year. The play sheet resets, but it's a bittersweet feeling. Like super pumped for playoffs. Super sad to see the NFL season on its way out. So definitely a bittersweet. But yeah, holidays went good. My wife is like super pregnant, so we didn't really do much. We just, kicked it here. Some of her family came down for New Year's. She's due in 3 weeks, so she can really go at any time here. But I was able to lock in plays regardless, so I'm excited for the show tonight.
Jake's been on the full grind no matter what. So
oh yeah,
this is exciting. Jake's gonna have a kid soon, and we have NFL football. Maybe it's a Super Bowl baby, Jake.
Yeah, and she's due February 2nd. So my wife is hoping it's not a Super Bowl baby because she's not trying to have her in there that long. But maybe a conference championship baby or something. Who knows?
And too bad you can't celebrate with your Miami Dolphins and the child at the same time, unfortunately.
Dude, it is all good. I saw Harbaugh is interviewing with them.
I mean, we could definitely talk a bit more on some of the coaching stuff toward the end after we give the people what they want. Of course, that is best bets, touchdowns, props, some EV plays for this wildcard weekend. And as always on Wednesday, Jake and I are going to be breaking down every single game. Of course, these are all wildcard games. Now that props have been out for a little bit now, I'm sure Jake and I have a bit of a better gauge on the prop market, what we're looking for. And like always, we're going to run through game by game. Jake, is there any game? Do you want to just go straight order from Saturday to Monday? Do you want to start at Monday, mix it up, or just go through them all straight down the line?
I'm cool with whatever. We might as well start with Saturday just because, not that we're going to move any lines, but I already saw some lines are moving just since I locked some plays in earlier today. So
good point. So
start there, right?
First game, we got Rams in Carolina. Now we know that the Carolina Panthers upset the Rams in Carolina earlier this season. Stafford threw a couple of picks, turnover-worthy game, and we all know that the NFC South was as crazy of a division as it was. Carolina in the playoffs, but are they actually, good enough for what should be the playoffs? We all probably know the answer to that question. 10.5-point dogs, Jake. I'm looking at pick the odds. Let me get the spread here. Because obviously I don't think anybody, or if you are, you really shouldn't be weighing that one game so hard about how the Panthers upset the Rams. But Jake, now that it's 10.5 points, we're at the playoffs, same thing. It's still in Carolina. It's not like the Rams are at home this time. Any love for the dog here? Any love for the favorite? Thoughts on the total? What are your thoughts on this one? Because we're sitting here at 10,
I do think that Carolina win is the reason why this line isn't like a -12 right now, honestly. Probably should be, but with that being said, I would just lean the Rams -10.5. I do have 2 plays in this game though. So my first bet is the under 46.5 at -108 on FanDuel. I know that when they did play 5 weeks ago, it was more of a high scoring game, but this is really more of a fate of the Carolina offense right now. And one of their touchdowns in that game came from a pick 6. So it's not like they got all their touchdowns from a dominating offensive performance here. They've really looked terrible to end the season. They've averaged only 16 points per game in their last 4 games. They did see Seattle in that stretch, but then they saw Tampa Bay twice and New Orleans. And this Rams defense is elite. It doesn't even really compare to either of those teams other than Seattle. I do think the Carolina defense on the other side, I think they can hold their own here for a little bit. They did turn, you just mentioned, Stafford over 3 times in their recent game. And I could see them getting maybe a turnover or 2 in this game as well. However, I do think that the Rams will do everything they can to not allow this and feed Kyren Williams, feed Blake Corum, especially once they do get a 2-score lead, to milk the clock and control the time of possession. It's also supposed to rain, I believe. I don't know what that forecast is looking like exactly. I don't know if it's going to be heavy rains, light rains, mild rains, rain here and there. But that's all the more reason to run the ball here and helps me with this under. So my first bet, there's the under 46.5. And then speaking of Blake Corum, I'm going to take him to score a touchdown at +200 on Bet365. It's kind of piggybacking off of my ideation of the Rams running a lot. He's low-key been a little workhorse for them in the last 6 weeks here. In the last 6 weeks, he's had 405 rushing yards. He's averaging 67.5 yards per game, 6.4 yards per carry, and 4 touchdowns. So they've been utilizing him pretty well. I could see him getting a decent amount of carries here, especially if they're winning. And I don't mind his over of 41 rushing yards either. I believe that's on FanDuel. But right now, I'm just going to stick to the under and Blake Corum to score a touchdown. Those are 2 plays that I already locked in. But I could see me taking Corum to have 40, 41 rushing yards as well closer to game time.
Yeah, no, I actually agree. So like when the Rams lost to the Panthers in Carolina, that was a game that was rainy, and Stafford, that's like I'm not gonna say we can blame the interceptions on like the weather or whatever, but that was definitely a bad weather game where the Carolina came back. And I'm on the same page as you where like obviously Stafford's, coming down to the wire for the MVP, and he's been like playing really well. And looking at some quickly on the EV screen, if you have a Bet Rivers account, this Puka touchdown is plus 105 at Rivers, and it's minus 110 at Circa. So this Puka touchdown is absolutely worth betting. And we can talk about Puka in a second too here. But I agree with you, Jake, that like the Rams, of course, are this high octane, throw the football all over the place offense. They have, 2 of the best wide receivers in football, especially in a tandem right there. But I feel like for this situation, they need to I want to say take a step back, but like their best course of action is probably just trying to establish the run the football. Like the Panthers still aren't going to be able to compete with them. And Bryce Young, he literally only plays like really, really, really well or like dog shit. So like that's such high variance where like for even the Panthers to cover 10, like Bryce Young needs to play like an average game for them to win. He needs to play like a pretty exceptional game with Stafford having a horrible one like we saw happen. I still feel like that could happen again at this point.
Yeah. Puka Nacua at plus money to score is great value.
This is a great bet right here at Bet Rivers, seeing 2.8% EV. Even Dowdle here is plus 170 at Rivers. Obviously, a tough defense in the Rams, but Dowdle seems a little low. I mean, like a little high, Jake. Plus 170 for Dowdle.
Yeah, I mean, the preconceived notion is probably that they're going to be losing the majority of the game. Probably won't be getting as much work on the ground, but they're still going to get him the ball. And like anything can happen in the first half, so that is a high price.
So I think though that like it also suits the Panthers best, and this goes to your under as well, for them to run the football. The less time that Matthew Stafford can carve the football, that's just better for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
So
that's what they want to do. We know that's what they want to do.
Yeah, that is absolutely, and especially again in a game like this with Devontae Adams coming off the injury, but also to probably some degree, probably a bit of rest. I'm sure if you had to suit up at least last week, you probably definitely could have. And I don't know, Puka Nacua was just a specimen, bro.
Yeah, I mean, did you see that catch he almost had on the sideline? The one-handed catch at the end of the game, like in real time, or when they showed that first review, I was like, oh my gosh, he actually, that might be one of the best catches I've ever seen in my life before I saw the bobble. Yeah.
And then just
left hand.
The view, it was like, unfortunately, it was like clearly out from the second view, but that first view was like, wait a second, that's a 100% catch.
The double toe drag.
Yeah. Puka doing crazy things there. But Jake, officially on the under here, Panthers Rams. I don't have any disagreements. And honestly, on the Corum, I like the thought process of going with Corum over like Kyren, especially at the prices for Corum.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could both get in, but you have a guy that scored 4 times in the last 6 games. He's playing well. There's no reason to not give him his fair share of carries. I think it's not like it's plus 160, plus 200 is a big difference.
Absolutely. So, all right, that's I don't have a play in Rams Panthers, unfortunately. But with that being said, I have some bets that I have locked in, and that Puka Nacua anytime touchdown at Rivers is absolutely worth betting there. But Jake, Packers Bears. Now, this is a matchup that, third time in a season. First time these teams played, we all know what happens. Fantastic game. Packers end up winning, get the cover. Spreads obviously flipped. It took a world of things to go in the Bears' favor, but they end up winning that football game. And now the ultimate one is at Soldier Field now in the wild card round. Jake, the Packers since then have dealt with tremendous amounts of injuries. The Bears are still bearing. I mean, they've gotten actually healthier, but like Caleb's inconsistency and lack of what am I trying to say? Like high completion stuff. Like he's inaccurate. He's inaccurate. Now in this matchup, the Ben Johnson, Matt LaFleur Bowl, who is winning this playoff game that, is the ultimately the biggest game of the year for obviously these teams.
This might be the game I'm most excited for, honestly. A divisional matchup, 2 good games prior to this. I'm all over Green Bay. First of all, that
I knew
you knew that was coming from a mile away, probably.
Yeah.
And I got them at -1 at -110 on MGM. But this line has been flipping. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. I believe it was Green Bay. Green Bay was favored.
Let me pull it up. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it flipped to it's been all over the place. It flipped to Chicago, I think, and then now it's back to Green Bay. So I wasn't taking any risks. And I think they're like -115 is the best that you can get on the money line, which I don't mind, but I'd rather take the -1 at less juice. And last time they played, though, Chicago needed like a miracle to win, which was a game basically against Malik Willis, because I believe that's when Jordan Love got hurt in that game. Like they needed that onside kick that they recovered, and that's how they ended up winning the game.
Nuts.
Eric, the Chicago defense is just so bad at everything except turning the ball over. Obviously, we know that that's probably what got them a majority of their wins was their ability to take away the ball. They're the best in the league at that. But guess who doesn't turn the ball over? Green Bay. They don't turn the ball over. They have 13 turnovers all season. If they don't turn the ball over in this game, Green Bay, I think it's an easy win for Green Bay. Chicago also allows explosive plays. I believe they're top 3 I believe they're second for most 20-plus yard passes allowed all season. We know that that's something that Jordan Love loves to sit back there and air the ball out. So I'm all over Green Bay at -1. And I also took Christian Watson to score a touchdown at +185 on Hard Rock Bets. I mean, he's their deep ball threat, and he also gets a decent amount of targets in the red zone. So knowing that Chicago's defense is terrible, they give up explosive plays. Christian Watson is their deep ball guy and typically is making those big plays, explosive plays, and he's a good red zone threat. I think at +185, it's a great spot to put 3/4 of a unit on. So those are the 2 plays I have locked in here.
I love Christian Watson stuff. Like I hit some Christian Watson stuff in that last Malik Willis start with Love, just because like everyone I feel like has this conceived notion about like what the Packers their offense. We know it's a spread out. They're not really dominant wide receiver 1, but I think like from like not that it like necessarily always goes this way, but from like a pure talent perspective, like Christian Watson was probably expected to be like the best one of them all. I mean, at 180 now, looking at the market, like circa having the best price for a touchdown is always going to turn me off. But that being said, from like a ball knowledge perspective, I think that Christian Watson is absolutely like alive and is like someone who's going to be often targeted in this game. And speaking of, I want to look at some of his other props quickly as well.
Yeah, and in the meantime, Eric, I know obviously Micah Parsons getting hurt sucks, and they haven't been the same since. But like Caleb Williams is not a good quarterback in my eyes. They do have a really good run offense, so I'll give them their flowers there. It's also a Ben Johnson first playoff game. Like we both agreed that he is probably the other reason, other than their defense getting random takeaways all the time. He's the reason they are where they are. Great coach, but you have an inexperienced quarterback and an experienced coach in their first playoff game, and a divisional playoff game, basically, versus a quarterback in Jordan Love and LaFleur who have experience and have been here before. That's another angle. I also want to give
experience though is always getting smoked and fucking up somehow in the playoffs though.
Yeah, I get that, but it's still experience. It's not like he hasn't been there before. Malik Willis also played very well. I want to put that out there. I believe his QBR was like 140 something in the time that he was gone. So it doesn't necessarily counter my Green Bay play, but the fact that like Jordan Love got hurt around the same time as Parsons, and then they haven't been playing as well, and people are like, well, Jordan Love wasn't there. Obviously he's better than Malik Willis, but it's not like you had a backup quarterback and then that was an absolute bum like Brady Cook or something that couldn't get it done. Like he played very well. Parsons is a big blow, but that defense was going to be good with or like without him before the season even started. So just wanted to add my 2 cents there on the whole injury and that situation.
No, for sure. I'm bearish on LaFleur. Like I
Pun
really am.
intended? Was the pun intended?
Pun was honestly not intended at all. But that being said, I haven't bet this game from a side perspective. So some of the plays I like are later in the week here. But I don't know. I feel like I was anti LaFleur very early, and then I was convinced that I was wrong and like he was actually good, especially when like the Jordan Love, era kind of turned over. Because I was thinking back then, I was like, bro, we can't win with Aaron Rodgers, and like they're losing to the Niners in like these terrible fashions. Of course, since then we've learned that, of course, more about Rodgers and like how he operates at times as well. But I was out on LaFleur, somehow got convinced he is actually great, and then now I feel like it's a split decision. I think LaFleur is probably a worse coach at this point than Ben Johnson, but the Packers, like we've talked about, even the last 2 times they play each other, are still the better football team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this quarterback is still better on Green Bay's side. So I think you said it right. Like this is one of the games that you're most excited for, and I entirely understand why. Like this one should be fun as hell for Saturday night.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited. And the fact that money came in on Chicago and then back on Green Bay and the line was moving how it did, is that what that's showing?
Yes. So it started off with the Bears being favored Packers. Now, with that being said, obviously, like that is key indicators, and everyone who's watched our channel and watched our streams know that this is stuff we look out for. However, of course, this is Wednesday. Yes, it's Saturday, but as limits continue to rise, like let's take a quick look here at Circa. Their money line limits are still just 25K, and their spread limits, we'll take a quick look at what it's at. 44K. Like that'll be like well over 6 figures by Saturday. So there will be big moves coming, kind of I think from like moving forward in the week, which is true for every week. But I think especially in playoffs when everything is a lot more efficient and like these lines have been out for a bit, we're gonna see like big moves happening on like potentially Friday, Saturday morning. Those are going to be interesting to monitor and follow along with.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Jake, let's get to Sunday's slate. Bills, Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen. Jake, I don't know if you saw a future bet that I made. I haven't told the chat yet, but Jake, I'm on the Jaguars to win the Super Bowl. And that starts with a win at home against the Buffalo Bills.
I'm with you. Maybe not in the Super Bowl part, but I lean heavy towards the Jacksonville money line. The only reason I'm not taking it yet is I do think money's going to come in on Buffalo at such a short line. So I'm gonna wait and take the risk. In worst case scenario, I take a Jacksonville -1.5, -2 on the spread. Eric, this is a terrible, terrible matchup for the Buffalo offense. They love to run the ball, right? James Cook has had a great season. Just got paid. Usually these players suck after they get paid or get a big extension. But he's been
Cook is a dog, bro.
Yes, I mean he's been having some fumble issues, but they're not going to like shy away from one of their best players just because of that. And Buffalo's very good at running the ball, but dude, they're probably going against the best run defense in the league as of late. I mean, you can argue that they haven't seen anyone. Like you can't argue that Jacksonville hasn't seen anyone because Jonathan Taylor, one of the best running backs in the league, they just saw him twice in the last month or so. They didn't really let him do anything. And if Buffalo can't get the run game going, they're going to struggle because who actually knows how healthy Josh is with that foot issue? I know he didn't play last week, but the prior week, it was very clear that he was not feeling great. And we sat on this stream when Jacksonville was overseas and we were like, dude, their offense is a joke. And then they absolutely turned it around the last 2 months. They've been great since the Jacoby Myers move. And it's not all because of Jacoby Myers, but he has brought a dynamic to that offense that they needed, especially with Brian Robinson, like being MIA for the first 8 weeks of the season. And Buffalo defense really isn't going to do anything to stop them, especially on the ground. And like, what's their kicker situation? What is their kickers? Like, are they just going to go for 2 every time? Because they brought in Prater, who got hurt. Like, who's their kick? Do you know? Like, I actually don't know who's going to kick.
I mean, let's see on Pick the Odds if we have any lines up for like extra points and if that'll give us our answer right now. No, only Cam Little is listed currently. The Jaguars.
So you have speaking of Cam Little, you have a guy like Cam Little who can hit a field goal from the other side of the field, and then you have a Buffalo team that is going to have to go for it on fourth down every time, is going to have to go for two every time, arguably. Or which one of their running backs was it? Ty John? Who's the running back in Hard Knocks that was kicking extra points for them?
I don't know. I wasn't watching.
Who's their? Why am I blank? Who's their? Not Ty.
I know the Texans kicker, running back that kicks, but it's probably wasn't the same guy. Like Barry Ogunwale.
If anyone knows, put it in the chat. I'm blanking on his name. However, let me get to my two plays because I do have two player props that I really like. One of them is one of my favorite plays on the entire slate for the weekend. It's not this one, but I love ETN to have 63 rushing yards. I got that at -103 on Hard Rock. Paid the extra juice just because I think everywhere else it was like 64.5, 65.5, and Hard Rock had 62.5. So it was just such a big difference. I was willing to take it. And this goes back to Buffalo being one of the worst rush offenses in the entire league. And I think Jacksonville is going to be winning this game most of the time, and keep Josh Allen off the field for as long as possible. Give your running backs the ball. Against a bad rush defense, they should have no issue running the ball. I even think I liked ETN 62.5 rushing yards, or even Trevor Lawrence, but I might still pull that. I might still pull the plug on that, but I like ETN 63 rushing yards, and one of my favorite bets of the entire weekend is James Cook to have 14 plus receiving yards at -114 on FanDuel. If they can't run, which obviously I'm assuming they won't be able to be, they still will find a way to get this guy the ball. He's one of their best players in the playoffs. If you can't run the ball, what are they going to do? Just completely take him out of the game. So I really like James Cook to get 14 plus receiving yards. He can get this on one play easily. He's taken screens to the house from 70 yards. Not that we need all that, but they will find a way to get him the ball. I really, really don't think that Buffalo is going to be able to run the ball at all. And I think it's going to be vice versa for Jacksonville. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think it's going to open up the pass. These receivers are not dropping the ball at the tail end of this season. And if I didn't have a Houston Texans AFC to win the AFC ticket, I would be super happy for your Jacksonville play. I mean, I still am if Houston loses. I think it's a great ticket. You have one too, though, right?
Yeah, I have Houston plus 1,300 to win the AFC. And I have Jaguars Super Bowl.
I will add, though, my Jacksonville plus 350 ticket to win the AFC South, that cashed, and it was like best case scenario because that cashed. And obviously Houston still in the playoffs, so I had my AFC ticket for that. So yeah, all's looking well. But Travis Etienne, 63 rushing yards, and I really like James Cook to have 14 receiving yards.
Yeah, so James Cook, I'm looking at his reception prop. It's -200 for over 1.5. And you're James Cook, a guy like with his dynamic. I can't speak.
Dynamic, I gotcha.
Ability, with his dynamic ability, especially his ability after the catch. Like, so I know James Cook is not a high volume receiver. Like we know these things about him. They have Ty Johnson, who they actively sub in to take away those like third down passing situations. But if they're saying he's implied to have 2 catches, I find it hard to believe that James Cook wouldn't be able to get 15 plus yards on 2 catches. So no disagreements with you there. And also when it comes to the money line, so Jake, this is one of my best bets. Let me tell you why the Jacksonville Jaguars are winning this game and why they're also potentially going to win the Super Bowl and why I bet them to win the Super Bowl. The Jaguars have the weaponry all across the field. I know you spoke about the Jacoby Myers, and we've talked about it a bit here and there throughout since the deal happened. That was ending up being one of the best trades like anybody could have made because he's honestly unlocked their entire offense because Jacoby Myers, while he's not like a wide receiver one like an A.J. Brown, he kind of is. And then you're slotting everybody down like a rung where BTJ can be more of like not relied upon as much, which like unfortunately he can't be even after his amazing rookie year. Parker Washington is a dog.
I was just going to say that. Oh my gosh. He's been eating.
So the Jaguars offensively, Travis Etienne's been balling out and Trevor Lawrence has been playing incredible football. So they have all the pieces offensively to compete with anybody from that perspective. Then defensively, while I know you still are in love with like some of the numbers, I still think if like any team, I think maybe it's just like honestly still like biased from the past. Like I think the Jaguars are just like if I had to pick a team who's like high rated defense to like blow up in the playoffs, like I would probably think it'd be the Jaguars, but like maybe I'm just being a hater, honestly. I don't have any like advanced low-key data that's like kind of backing that. But long story short, especially in this game, circling back to Wilder Jacksonville in general, but in this game particularly, I think you called it out really well, Jake. The Bills struggle so mightily when there are like physically imposing guys in the other team on the offense that are like big time playmakers, tough to tackle, and are reliable. The Jaguars have ETN, who's a dog. They have McConnell Myers, who's a dog. BTJ, who can still make catches down the field. Parker Washington, again, Brenton Strange. Like they have this beyond formidable offensive unit that Buffalo does not have nearly enough like good defensive players to like slow that down. And if Trevor Lawrence continues to play the way he's playing and limiting turnovers and making smart decisions, using his legs wisely, the Jaguars are absolutely primed for a run to this year's Super Bowl. And I think it starts with an upset. Technically an upset. They're slight dogs at home, but an upset in the first round against Josh Allen. And like another thing, the last thing I'll add here is like Liam Cohen has also probably launched himself into like a top 12 coach right now candidate. I've always been anti Sean McDermott, and I think that we might see Sean McDermott's funeral on Saturday or Sunday.
I was gonna bring that up in the beginning when we were gonna talk about coaches, but I was gonna save it to the end. I think if they lose, he's out of there, especially with the coaching market right now.
I think he should have been out of there 3 years ago, realistically, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably.
So
Ray Davis is probably going to kick for them if they need an.
Ray Davis, yeah,
he was the one. Yeah, I knew it wasn't Ty Johnson, but yeah, it was Ray Davis.
Ray Davis, great kick returner. But long story short, on this, I also think Liam Cohen that the Jags have an edge offensively there. Joe Brady, I think like his offense they've been running all year, and like this goes back to even like can Josh Allen become Superman and win the games, right, and win them and take them all the way to the promised land. We've yet to see it. Does that mean it can't happen? No, absolutely not. Like with Mahomes, for example, we've seen it. It's happened. It's done. It's been great. Allen has not proven that. It would have to be because this Bills roster to me is nowhere near as good as like some of the other rosters it's had. And like again, I think McDermott and Joe Brady are like net negatives. I think that the Jaguars are primed to take this win. Josh is not going to be able to like be Superman here. Jaguars take their first step toward potentially capturing a Lombardi, where I think that they rightfully like could get there.
You want to know where the Bills messed up along the way in these last few years? Other than having like arguably piss poor defenses, like they haven't had a number one wide receiver since Diggs. And I know that like he was bad locker room and they would be winning games and he's complaining. But what did he go and do? He went to the Texans and balled out before he tore his ACL. Then he went to New England. Now he's balling out again. Like Josh the poor guy hasn't had a number one receiver in like, who is it right now? Josh Palmer. They want
it's Khalil Shakir.
Khalil Shakir, but like Keon Coleman, absolute flop. Like he was playing with the backups last week, and it's just a shame that they can't get this guy who I think any wide receiver would want to go play with Josh Allen. And they bring in Josh Palmer, and like he's supposed to be their saving grace. I just don't understand those moves that they were making.
Well, from a team building perspective, we've seen it with Kansas City. We've seen it with kind of Jacksonville now. We've seen it with the Packers. Like, yeah, teams have like kind of like embraced this like no alpha spread around offense. But like, I think the Chiefs, like after they lost Tyreek Hill and like they kind of filled that out. Yeah, they still were able to get to the pinnacle and win a Super Bowl there and lose another one. But like, I think that was all the proof that like, they were never able to recreate Tyreek Hill in the aggregate. Now, of course, Tyreek Hill is a very difficult person to recreate in the aggregate, but like even like it's Stephon Diggs is still obviously very difficult to recreate as well. So like that's why you saw the Chiefs, I think, flip from like being like, okay, we're drafting these defenders, these offensive linemen to be like, we need to get Xavier Worthy, we need to get Rashee Rice, we need to like beef this up because they probably thought they'd be better off. Like I don't think they thought they'd be better off without Reek. They probably thought they'd be like, able to sustain without Reek, but like.
Which arguably they did.
Is when you have teams like the Rams and you have a dog in Stafford, one of the best play caller in football, and Sean McVay, and you have arguably the best receiver in football, and Devontae Adams, who's arguably the 7th best receiver in football. Like, yeah, you're going to have some offensive success. And when you have a guy like Stafford who can sling the rock.
Yeah, well, you see the shit with Rashee Rice and his girlfriend?
I did. I mean, I'm not saying I'm definitely not endorsing Rashee Rice anytime here. And I
know. I just think that it's funny that stuff happens. Like they dated for 8 years or some shit. And now she's like coming out, all 8 years were abusive. And she dropped like 15 photos. I mean, she looked like she got beat up. Like, I'm not picking sides, but it's funny that after he dumps her,
next thing you know, there's
all the allegations are coming out.
Yeah,
child, all this stuff, dude.
Yeah,
it's just like that stuff you don't need that type of media around a team. Like I'm talking about the Chiefs, like that they got rid of Tyreek Hill, who doesn't really bring great media around anyway, and then they replaced it with Rashee Rice, a guy like that.
The Chiefs have always had a history of like taking bets on like people with character concerns, and sometimes having good results. Other times, maybe in the case of Rice being impossible to fix there, but. Jake, let's rip through these last 3 games because we do want to talk about. I'll pull up DraftKings quickly. Like there are some fun markets out on FanDuel and DraftKings, most passing yards, most receiving yards. I want to touch upon those here today as well. Jake, Niners, Eagles right now. Eagles minus 220 favorites. They lose to my commies in week 17, 18. I took the commies. That was a nice plus 170 money line smash last week. Let's look at the current market with spreads. This one I know it was 3.5 and now it's 4.5. Birds laying it. I'll start by saying, Jake, I'm just mad I missed the 4.5 of the 3.5 because I love Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the under 44.5. So I locked that in. I really don't have a preference on the side. I would definitely lean Philly in this case. What's interesting about both of these teams, though, is they both suck against other good teams. So something's got to give here. The only good teams that the 49ers beat since week 5 is the Chicago Bears and the Carolina Panthers. And I don't even really know if I consider both of those teams good, regardless of
the Bears are definitely good. The Panthers, no.
Okay. Well, that's opinion, but like that's why I'm putting them in that category, whatever. The Bears. But since then, after the win versus the Rams in week 5, these are all their wins, other than Chicago, Atlanta, the Giants, Arizona, Cleveland, Tennessee, and Indy with Phillip Rivers. Their losses since that time are to Tampa Bay, Houston, the Rams, and Seattle. So all the good teams they lose to, other than they beat Chicago the 1 week. All the bad teams, the terrible teams, they actually beat. Now Philly has some wins over good teams like Buffalo, Detroit, and Green Bay. But they scored like no points in those games. Even in their losses to good teams, the Chargers, Denver, Chicago, like I said, if we're considering them good, which you are, they also scored no points in those 3 games. They scored 19, 15, and 17 points. So I like the under a lot here. I think they both struggle to score. I do have a touchdown lean. It's Juwan Jennings to score at plus 250. I didn't lock that in. But he's been a scoring machine to end the season. He has 6 touchdowns in the last 6 games. They're pricing him at plus 250, which I think is a little disrespectful. And if Ricky does end up playing, this obviously helps open him up a little more. So probably going to wait to get that news to see if I decide to lock that in or not, or closer to game time. But yeah, I'm all over the under. I think the under 44.5 is a great play here, and I did lock that in. Minus 109 on Caesar. I don't know if I said that, but
even McCaffrey is like minus 135 to score, and like obviously, like this is a guy who could be as high as like minus 200 to get in the end zone. I think that's interesting.
Sometimes he's minus 105 to score too.
Yeah, AJ Brown is like plus 150. I actually really do like that price on AJ Brown. But this comes down to me, Jake, because like I do like your under, but like the one concern I have for the under is I do see a world where this is like a Philly offensive breakout game because like you just ran through the Niners schedule. They've played cupcake schedule and their defense still has been banged up all year. The defense stinks. And I think that how bad the defense is still being masked. The thing is, I don't have a ton of confidence in the Philly offense to find that momentum. So I do believe, like with you, I'm with you with that under being the best look. But like the only thing that I think could have that is if the Philly offense goes up and then San Francisco is able to score 17 and get to a position where like that does get this over. But I think that is more unlikely than this game just playing out. Like, you know, the Eagles offense, even against a bad defense, they've been throwing stones all season. They just stink. Like that just continues to happen. And then Purdy has had some really good games, played a good season. Shanahan's had a great season as a play caller, head coach, of course. But this Philly defense, like Fangio has always given him fits. They haven't played in a long time, but this is like guys who are on the same staff. Like Shanahan tried to fire him. Like they've been
Yeah, I forgot about all that.
There's some connections there. So I do agree with you that the under, but like for me, my favorite play would be the Eagles. And I do think this is a great spot for a Jalen Hurts touchdown. We've been talking about how the tush push like has been a topic conversation to start the year, but the one topic I feel like has kind of gone under the radar is how it's been less successful this season. And I don't think that the Niners are the team that's like really like so great on the interior front. I could see this being a game where Philly, like, they get to they do what they do. They run the football. They're within the 3-yard line. And like, we see maybe like the best version of like, a team save their best plays for like late 2 points. Like maybe I think we see like a little resurgence of the tush push, unless maybe the NFL decides to start, calling some more penalties that they have done this season a bit more. I guess I'll give them credit in that. Maybe playoffs, they do put the extra scrutiny on that, but I do like a Hurts touchdown. And side perspective, again, I'm mad I missed the 3.5, but I do think that Philadelphia Eagles will not be getting upset and we'll be moving on to the next round here.
Yeah, and I think that I've seen too many games this year where Philly is playing another good team and they're content with winning by a couple of points. Like no one wants to do that, but like they do get those gritty wins, which is why I understand why you'd want like the minus.
I think they prefer to win by more, but maybe they realize how limited they are and they just can't do shit.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't touch a side. Like I said, I'd lean Philly, but it's just hard for me to pull the trigger on that. Just like it's not like it just happened 1 or 2 times. I've just seen it way too often throughout this entire season. But again, like you said, this is where you pull all the hats out of the trick. Like anything can happen. As long as it stays under 44.5, I don't give a damn. It could be 40-0 in the Philly, and I wouldn't care.
Absolutely. And even Saquon's only about minus 130 for a touchdown. I'm actually very interested in Saquon as well. I know he's obviously had a tough season, all things considered, but again, this Niners defense is really bad. I could see Saquon actually like breaking one through. So
Fred
Philly,
Warner.
Looking like Philly there. Jake, we got 2 more games here. Chargers, Patriots getting the Sunday night treatment. Herbert versus May. Chargers rested their stars last week. Patriots took care of some business and then, proceeded to get ready for this playoff game, home game against the Chargers. Right now on the money line, the Patriots are favored. Jake, I'll start with just this statement here. I'm definitely pro New England. Like you and I have gone back and forth about them this year. Everybody talks about strength of schedule. I'm not ignoring that. I'm not saying that nothing that matters. I do like the Patriots like as a team. However, for New England, outside of I guess Jacksonville and Houston, I think this is probably like the 3rd worst matchup for them because their defense I think is really overrated. And yes, we know how bad the offensive line is for the Chargers, but like not like the Patriots pass rush or anything crazy. If like it is like an average game for the Chargers O-line and Herbert's got some time to throw around the rock there, I think that the Chargers could could definitely upset and be live in this football game.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's where I would lean. I'm all over the unders in Wildcard weekend. As much as we don't like to see it,
put a 10-leg touchdown parlay across all the games. Nah.
I mean, all right, but in this game, my best bet is the first half under of 23.5, minus 120 on FanDuel. I believe FanDuel is the only one that has that line right now. A lot of them are 22.5s. Obviously, 23.5 is a key number. So if you can get it, get that. And you kind of called me out on it. I haven't been a fan of this New England defense specifically to end the season. Like the last half of the year, I think they've looked pretty bad. All of the teams that they've played well against sucked. So their defense played good against Miami with Quinn Ewers, the Jets twice, the Giants. And then the teams that they struggled against were half decent. The Bills, they allowed 35 points. Baltimore, they allowed 28. Tampa Bay, they allowed 23. That's just the tail end of the season. So that's not including like the first 7-8 weeks. However, the Chargers, they're banged up on the O-line, and Herbert has not looked good the last couple of weeks, in my opinion. The Chargers defense is too good, and that's who Drake May is going to see in his first playoff game. Like, I don't see him really having much success there. I think this is why I do like the first half a little more than the full game, because I just don't see Drake May getting out to a hot start in his first playoff game versus the best defense that he's seen all season by far. The best defense that New England has seen, like on their entire schedule, either the Browns, the Panthers, or the Steelers. And I'm putting the Chargers defense above all three of those by a decent margin. I know the Browns were pretty decent to start the season, but they just fell right off the last 2 weeks. Every other defense that they saw was just like so bad. It's not even like they were mid. Like they were just bad defenses. So I think there's definitely going to be a slow start to this game. The Chargers O-line is banged up. Herbert hasn't looked good. New England's offense hasn't seen a defense as good as the Chargers. It's Drake May's first start in the playoffs. I also am leaning Keenan Allen to score a touchdown at plus 300. He's the old reliable. He's a great red zone target, and I think that's a great price for him at plus 300. So didn't lock it in, but Keenan Allen to score a touchdown at plus 300 is a lean for me here, but all over the first half under.
Nah, I love this. Like, look at Allen, and I will just say it's about the touchdown market. So, like, they're definitely going to be priced more efficiently, and there's definitely going to be like less EV spots. But with that being said, there are going to be, because the limits are going to be a bit higher on these, there are going to be priced more efficiently. Where like a guy like Keenan Allen, like, yeah, this 300 is not EV to market, but like I totally agree with your like analysis. Where like they're in the red zone. Like Keenan has been a peppered red zone target all year. So like you're just like pulling that out, like now we're gonna go to old reliable. Like, no, he has been old reliable all season long.
Yeah.
And getting 3-1 odds on him to score a touchdown. I'm gonna go as far as to just like kind of lock it in, Jake. I'm taking the Chargers plus 3.5. Like I can see the paths for New England to have like general success this postseason, because I do think that they, despite the schedule, are a real team. But I do agree with your points that like Drake May's really best defense he's played by far coming in his first playoff game. The Chargers also be able to stop run games going, like Bermondre and Travion. If they're kind of, make the Patriots become one-dimensional, and that's going to be something that's tough for them. But then on the same turn as well, I do think that Herbert is honestly still an absolute stud, and getting 3.5 points with, even though May is a dog too, arguably the MVP, realistically, that like Herbert still is probably arguably the better quarterback. So I love Vrabel. I am still team New England. I just think this is like the worst possible matchup. Not the worst possible matchup, but it is like a bad matchup all in all. And I can get 3.5 points with Justin Herbert in the first round here, even with the offensive line problems. I'm taking it, Jake. I like the Chargers plus 3.5.
Would you consider a money line sprinkler or no? Like, how much do you like them? Honestly, I feel like if I were to take the Chargers, I would just take them on the money line. Personally, I'm not on them, but I'm leaning that way. And I feel like if I'm taking them with the points, I'd rather just take them on the money line. Now 3.5 is a key number, so I can understand why you'd want to.
That's
why
I'm
wager on that. But would you sprinkle the money line or no?
I'm not confident enough. Like in a lay, like a full post, like a full wildcard slate money line lay. Like I would take the charge on the money line for like a couple bucks, but like an actual bet, because like you said there, the key point is this is the 3.5 point spread, key number there. This was 2.5, 1.5. Yeah, I'm taking the money line at like a little bit of plus chicken. But at this point of like getting a minus 108 at DraftKings at Chargers plus 3.5, like to market currently, it's not great because we have circa 110 and penny 106. Like we're not going to find a massive edge. We're talking about the playoff freaking game lines here. But no, this is more of like I think that this should be closer to 2.5 than 3.5. So I'm getting the 3.5 and I'm taking it. Not like wrong team favor, like running to the window to bet the Chargers.
The other thing that I'll mention that to add to my underplay is like Herbert doesn't play in these northeastern conditions often, and when he did play in cold weather, like he didn't play last week against Denver. He did, right? No,
they sat him. They sat stars last week.
He really hasn't played in like these colder conditions. Like maybe in Kansas City 4 weeks ago, and they scored 16 points. But other than that, like they play decent weather in domes. Like it might throw a loop in his play as well, being outside in New England in the cold, in the wind.
Yeah, definitely something to consider. For me, it really just comes down to like we're talking about one of the worst offensive lines like we've seen in a long time. Like if they play that way, then like Herbert's gonna the Herbert suck in the playoffs narrative is going to stick, and it's going to be another for Charger fan offseason of hearing about that. The media is going to be in freaking June when there's nothing else to talk about. It's going to be like, oh, Justin Herbert clearly can't win the big game. Like that's what, and like obviously you can't quantify this. Like I'm sure to some degree you can to like some confidence interval, but like he's got to be thinking about that, bro. He's going to be walking around knowing as like
it's in the back of his head for sure.
He's got to be like, fuck this. I got to like put on and like get that off me.
Yeah, no, I agree.
How much is that worth to a spread? Obviously, an entirely different question there. But like, I would definitely believe that that's the current situation. But Jay, we want to talk some futures, but we got to end off with, I guess I could say our Texans because we're both in a similar boat here.
There are Texans,
and this is definitely my favorite matchup that they could have been playing against this weekend in Pittsburgh. We all know what happened there for them to clinch that final spot. Jake, this is a game where I think I've saw in a bunch of tweets. I'll try to find one quickly after I pass this off to you, but like talking about how like wildcard unders have been cashing. I know you're on them. I don't think you're on them because of that. You actually like the unders, but like it also
didn't even see that trend.
Yeah, so there's a trend about wildcard unders like hitting and like how this culmination of games with their totals is like one of the lower totals wildcard like averages that like we've seen. So like this is the game that I think that like anybody who's like the squarest squares are looking at this game and saying like, give me the under.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, give me the fucking under. I'm on the under here. I love this under.
I thought you were gonna say let me get the over. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm definitely would never take an over in this game. I would lean Houston -3, but as much as I want them to win, like I have an indirect Houston ticket, right? Like I'm not gonna sit here and put more money on them when I'm not super confident in a -3 spread. And I mean, Aaron Rodgers is going to have no time to throw the ball with this Houston pass rush. Hunter and Anderson will live in that backfield. But this is not Aaron Rodgers' first rodeo, dude. He's been around the game for a long time. He gets the ball out quick, and he's not just going to sit back there and get beat up. My second favorite play of the slate behind the James Cook play is Aaron Rodgers to have 34 pass attempts at -102 on FanDuel. He'll be able to get the ball out quick. I'm confident of that, even if he's just throwing the ball away. Metcalf is back. I think him swinging at that fan was more of a detriment than he thought it would be. I mean, they definitely could have used him in these last 2 weeks. So him being back.
They needed him.
Yeah,
and also, what's his name? Darnell Washington being out is terrible.
Yeah. So, and those are those are his top 2 targets, aren't they?
Well, Gainwell technically.
Oh yeah, Gainwell, but receiver, tight end wise, you know that if he sees DK Metcalf one-on-one, he's throwing that ball up immediately without a second thought. He cleared this in the last 3 games with flying colors. He had 47 pass attempts versus Baltimore, a game that they had to win. Baltimore doesn't even have a pass rush, and he still was throwing the ball all over the place. 39 versus Cleveland, 41 versus Detroit. So, and he's hit this 4 of his last 5 games too, but those were his last 3. Smoked this. I do think Pittsburgh's going to probably be losing. I do like Houston to win the game. When it comes to Houston, we just know they have capabilities to score, but Pitt isn't a terrible defense. And then, like I said, I also have my Houston AFC winner ticket. So I'm not going to sit here and like hammer bets I kind of already have or are going to make me double dip. But I love Aaron Rodgers to have 34 pass attempts. I think he throws the ball all over the place, gets the ball out quick, is under pressure. I'm not going to take completions because I'm not saying he's going to be throwing them to people necessarily. But yeah, it's clear. It hasn't even come close in the last 3 games to the under of this. So love the over here.
Yeah, no, I like that thought process. And for me, this is why under 39.5 in the Steelers Texans is one of my best bets, is because like we saw in that Browns game where like Myles Garrett was trying to get the sack record. Obviously, like Rodgers was like trying so hard to prevent himself from being like the one who was sacked for that record. Now in a playoff game, I think he'll probably put his, put his ego aside a bit more. But at the same time, I feel like that's not even true. We've seen that in that Niners game. Remember that a few years back in that freezing cold game in Lambeau when the Niners came in and beat the Packers, and like we've seen those like signs of like Rodgers, like we know who he is as a person, like now a bit from what we've learned. that has nothing to do with it. But the reason why I like this under is because I think Rodgers, like, he's going to have to get the ball out quickly, like you've been talking about, which is why I do love that attempts play. And against this Texas defense, like if there's one play where he's like caught off guard in the pocket, like Rodgers is not taking a hit from Will Anderson. Like he's not at this point. Like I think he'd rather throw the ball away. Like some of those memes where it's like, some backup quarterbacks on like 4th and 20 or throwing like a check down. Like I think Rodgers in the state where like he would probably throw a check down there rather than
he'll throw that game on his feet. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's going to lead to a lot of like stoppages. But on the other side, we have to think about the Texans against the Steelers. Like you said, still defense isn't horrible, though it's obviously not great. The Mike Tomlin voodoo, like CJ Stroud, I'm sure is honestly going to throw an interception. I'm just hoping that like this is a game where like it isn't a pick six either way or a fumble six either way. I think Rodgers will do his best to not allow any turnovers by, like you said, literally throwing balls at feet, throwing them away, not getting decked, which is going to lead to like a lot of slow-paced Steelers games inside. I think that as long as like they don't have a breaking pick six or fumble six, which is obviously possible, and they just continue to run the ball how they've been doing lately, which has been great. Continue to feed Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz, and Jaden Higgins is emerging. I've been talking about him for a few weeks now and for a few months now, and he's finally hit the scene running. This is an offense that I think will do enough to win this game and move on. But like, I don't think that this Texans team, like for them scoring 20 points is like really going to make them very hard to beat. Scoring like 23, I would say. Like if you score 23 as Houston, it's going to be really hard to beat. Total's 39. I think that they're going to have a struggle still getting to 23. I certainly do not think that the Steelers are scoring more than 17 points here. So I like this under, one of my best bets of the week.
Yeah, and like if you don't think that Aaron Rodgers is absolutely game planning to be pressured on probably 50% of his dropbacks, like you're insane. I said it before, it's not his first rodeo. Like he's going into this game knowing like I'm not going to get hit by these dudes. I'm going to do everything I can to not get hit or not get sacked. Like I'll throw the ball away, I'll throw it at feet. He's not going to sit back there and just get crushed.
Nah. So Jay, let's recap the best bets. Let's look at some fun future markets. I'm on Jaguars money line. Chargers plus 3.5 and under 39.5 in Texans Steelers. Leans that I have for touchdowns, which I'll be streaming at least 2 more times this week, boys. So like we'll lock in like some other player props, promos, boosts. So like don't get me wrong, we will have those streams. But I definitely like some Birds touchdown scores. I really do like their trio. Like I like Hurts, I like Saquon, I like Brown, whichever one we bet will be TBD. But I do also really like your Keenan Allen call out as well. So Jake, what else? Run through one more time for the boys. What you played already, what you're looking at, and then let's talk a bit of some of these fun markets and some down the line features.
Yeah, so I'm on the Rams Panthers under 46.5 and a Blake Corum touchdown at plus 200. I'm on Green Bay -1 and Christian Watson touchdown. I'm on Etienne to have 63 rushing yards. James Cook 14 plus receiving yards. That's my favorite play on the entire board. I'm on the under of San Fran and Philly of 44.5, leaning Juwan Jennings touchdown. I'm on the first half under of the Chargers and Patriots of 23.5 at -120 on FanDuel, leaning Keenan Allen touchdown. And then Aaron Rodgers to have 34 plus pass attempts. Really, that's my second favorite play on the board. So,
yes, sir. So that's Wildcard weekend. But Jake, let's talk some of these fun markets. I'll pull up DK here quickly. I'll do FanDuel. Just their interface is nicer, but we'll cross check. So Super Bowl, I bet the Jags at 15-1. Jake, I bet them mostly because of price. I also think that they can win, but like 15-1 price. Jake, looking at the FanDuel screen right now, and obviously line chop every time you bet. Like just for this exercise, we're just trying to find some fun things to talk about. So like make sure if we do find the bet, line chop. No odds don't matter, Jake. Who's your Super Bowl champion?
I've said it all. I've said it since I think week 3. Seattle Seahawks, man.
Seattle Seahawks.
I wasn't sure. Like they're one of those teams that looked so great in the beginning of the year, and you were like, oh, they have to fall off eventually. They have to have a flaw eventually. Dude, they've been so elite in every aspect of the game. They have probably the best wide receiver in the league if Puka Nacua isn't, but definitely top 3 in JSN. Darnold's playing out of his mind. Their defense is electric. They have one of the best home field advantages, and they're going to have home field all the way up until the Super Bowl. They're going to be a hard team to beat.
So Darnold has some playoff experience. Herbert has some. Lawrence has some. Stroud has some. Hurts obviously has some. General question: which quarterback do you think has the higher probability of regressing to a state that they've been at where it's hard to win with? Sam Darnold or Trevor Lawrence?
Oh, Trevor Lawrence.
You think Trevor Lawrence?
Dude, we saw it this season.
We saw Darnold still have some pumpkin seeing ghost games this season. Probably only like 2 or 3.
Yeah, we saw a stretch of it from Trevor Lawrence. And let me say this. If Jacksonville wins, they're probably going to the AFC Championship. I think that they smoked Denver. They already did. You know, like that's not who Denver wants to see. And then who else? Who'd they play in the championship? They'd probably play Houston, honestly.
Well, how does the bracket work? I'm going to share a screen because I'm just blind on seeds.
I have it up right now. The winner of Buffalo and Jacksonville plays Denver. And then the winner of the Patriots Chargers will play the winner of Houston Pitt. So we're going to see Denver versus Buffalo or Jacksonville. Then we're going to see either the Chargers versus Houston, Chargers versus Pitt, or New England versus Houston, New England versus Pitt.
Okay, that's very, very nice. But Jake, let's take a look at this tab quickly here. Divisional hypotheticals. Exactly what it sounds like. A tab of hypothetical matchups for the division round. Right now, if the Seahawks played the Packers, if the Packers win, Seahawks will be laying 3.5. I'm looking, though, because I want to see. So right now, Denver would be dogs at home to Buffalo. If they play Jacksonville, did I scroll past it? Well, do they reseed?
No, they shouldn't. Denver's the 1 seed.
I know.
You're saying if Jacksonville wins?
I'm saying if the Chargers beat the Patriots, do they reseed and play 7? That's not how it works, right?
I don't think so because there's a legitimate bracket.
Yeah. That's what I'm looking at too. But maybe I'm dumb. So then they should only play the winner of Buffalo, Jacksonville. But then why are we seeing a Denver's Bronco?
Yeah, wait,
that Broncos Chargers hypothetical. That makes sense. Jaguars would play the Patriots if.
Yeah, they do reseed after wildcard round.
I thought so, honestly.
Me too. So it would make no sense to see a 3 seed versus a 1 seed and then like a 7 seed versus.
So we could be put in a tough spot if Houston beats Pittsburgh, New England beats the Chargers, and the Jaguars beat the Bills. We can be in a tough spot where Jacksonville is playing Houston.
Yeah.
And Denver is playing Buffalo. Is playing the Chargers. And Houston right now is 2.5-point dogs, which is, I think, very fair, honestly.
But that's probably – so it's – yeah, because if New England wins and Jacksonville wins, they're going to play each other regardless because then the winner of Houston Pitt is going to play Denver because they're the 5 and the 4 seed. The only way Denver will play anyone but Houston is Pitt is if the Chargers or Buffalo win because they're the 6 and the 7 seed.
Gotcha. So some very interesting ones here. Broncos, Texans would be dogs to the Broncos. I would be all over Houston there. They obviously played earlier in the year. The Broncos did win that game in Houston. Now they have the home field on the bye, but still. Actually, I don't know if I would actually take Houston there, unfortunately. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm confusing myself, but this is very interesting to look at. Jake.
Philly is minus 2.5 against Chicago. Oh my gosh.
I mean, Chicago kicked their ass. Remember that?
What's that?
Remember when Chicago kicked their ass?
Yeah, I remember that. No way it's happening again.
But Jay, let's look at these fun markets too, because some of these special markets, these are like mostly nonsense. Like sometimes there's like one or a couple of mispriced things in there, but like not really. But these are always fun. Most passing yards for the wild card round. So quite literally the quarterback in their game to have the most passing yards here. Matt Stafford surprisingly the favorite. Drake May 5-1 second. Lawrence 8-1. Lawrence at 8-1 is very interesting to me.
Justin Herbert at 12-1 is very interesting to me.
Absolutely. Anything else sticking out to you? Because while you talk about it, I want to look at DraftKings and see if there's any price discrepancies worth betting right now.
Justin Herbert is sticking out to me the most because is this just wild card or
just wild card? They definitely had last year whole playoffs. Maybe it'll come tomorrow or Friday. Maybe they're just not doing it this year. That'd be heartbreaking. But with that being said, I'm looking at this is just for the wild card. These specials, yes.
Well, it's interesting to see this because I know like half of these games have pretty bad weather.
And receiving yards, Puka the chalk, Nico second chalk, AJ Brown third, Devontae Adams at 16-1. I think that's a terrible bet.
Stephon Diggs at 2,200.
Yes, Stephon Diggs at 22-1. Lat McConkey, Kayshon Boutte going deep down the board there. Rushing yards, James Cook favorite, ETN at 850.
Oh my! If I could take James Cook to not, oh my gosh, how is it? It's crazy. He's against Jacksonville's rush defense. How is he the favorite?
Ask the traders at FanDuel, brother. I'm not sure, or maybe you have an edge right here there by fading and getting a better price than somebody else down the line. At DK, Cook is 450. And Saquon's actually the favorite at 425 at DK, with FanDuel having it at 490. Jacob 6-1. ETN, Woody Marks, no. Jalen Warren, no.
Rico all the way down there. Rico's at 2,500.
Yeah. And obviously some other really long shots there. Highest scoring game, Jake, Bills, Jags being the chalk. That's very understandable. The Texans, Steelers being the biggest long shot there, of course, also understandable.
I want no part of any of that because I'm all over the unders.
Yeah, highest scoring team. Yeah, you probably want lowest scoring game. I mean, Texans, Steelers it makes sense how this is kind of that market in reverse there. Lowest scoring team in the wild card round, Pittsburgh at 450 to me is also interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills at plus 2,200. I don't think that they're going to be able to score.
Let's see. Bills.
If they can't run the ball, they're going to struggle to score. I'll tell you that. If Josh Allen is also not 100%, they're going to struggle to score. Let me tell you that.
Absolutely. Jake, any other future odds you want to take a look at here?
No, not right now. I mean, it was something I definitely want to look into. Probably on Friday, right before we kick off on Saturday. But I don't have anything top of mind. I'm happy with my Houston ticket for now. I'm happy that my Jacksonville Jaguars ticket cashed. That was a preseason lock-in too. So
very nice.
I mean, I did pretty well with my futures. San Fran over wins hit, Jacksonville over wins hit, Jacksonville to win the division hit. The Dolphins to have 8 wins, missed by the hook.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one for Miami. But Jake, this was fun as always. We are locked.
Should we talk coaching real quick?
Sure.
Just because you think McDermott's out when they lose?
Yeah, what the hell are they waiting for? Should have been out 3 years ago.
With all these coaches on the market?
Let's talk about the market here quickly. What are your thoughts on the most talked about breakup, Harbaugh and the Ravens? What are your thoughts?
I saw this stat. Harbaugh without Lamar Jackson is like 8-3 in the playoffs or some shit, and with him, he's like 3-6 or something. About how it seems like the wrong person got fired. And
what do you think about that?
I don't know. Like, there was clearly some headbutting there. We just heard about it in the last few weeks with Lamar kind of wanting out, or things weren't going too well. And it seems like they picked Lamar, the guy who wasn't happy anyway, who probably wants to still leave anyway, to stay. That didn't make much sense. I think the only reason these coaches are quick to like make, or these offices are quick to make these fires is because the market is there's so much availability. Cliff, Harborough, Stefanski. I mean, I don't know what the deal is with Pete Carroll. Is he just going back into his nursing home, or
It should be
right?
That's not a bad.
But even like Pete Carroll, not that I think that he shouldn't have been fired. Like, why is the leash so short with a great coach? Like, he's been a great coach throughout history, right? He comes into a team that sucks anyway. Like, it's not, what was the expectation? I mean, probably not to be the worst team in the league. I get that. But you have a young team, the worst O-line in the league. You over